Chronicles of the Origin System, Excerpt 18. Zephyr, a warframe who commands the skies with grace and ferocity. The Lotus once described Zephyr as born from the wind, an untouchable force of nature, representing freedom and unpredictability. Created in the height of Orichan ingenuity, Zephyr was designed to master the element of air, allowing her to soar above the battlefield, unbound by the limitations that confine others. Her connection to the skies embodies both the calm before the storm and the tempest that follows, bringing swift and deadly judgment from above. In the chaos of battle, Zephyr moves with the wind, untethered and elusive. The Lotus referred to her as a storm-given form, capable of evading any threat while striking down her enemies with unrelenting force. As a living embodiment of the wind's unpredictable nature, Zephyr is both a symbol of freedom and destruction, untouchable and ever-present, sweeping across the battlefield like the storm she was created to mimic. Her legacy is one of both destruction and liberation, the eternal storm that broke the chains of Orichan tyranny. Zephyr, the Turbulent One.
Oh hey dreamers, fancy meeting you guys here. This is our juicy one-shot level 9999 disruption Zephyr. It will be the only Zephyr build you'll ever need. Now, while this is centered around more of a melee frame Zephyr build, you actually are able to use any weapons that you would like for this build. Now, there are some quality of life changes that you can use for this. You are more than welcome to switch Near's Anguish and Near's Hatred out for any other mods that you would like at this point in time. Now, this build will be centered around Zata's Whisper and Funnel Clouds. What is going to happen is Zata's Whisper is going to synergize the damage duplication that you're going to be getting from the void damage, and Funnel Cloud is going to be augmenting that damage in use with elemental damage as well. This is going to synergize absolutely perfectly together. Now, the types of weapon you can use are pretty much up to your imagination, but the Kuva Sobek is going to actually synergize the best with this setup. What is going to happen is using acid shells and clip delegation will not only increase your multi-shot by a multitude, but the corrosive damage explosions will do a plus 45% damage to enemy health. This will scale with enemy level. And what will happen is Zata's Whisper will duplicate that damage. Funnel Clouds will duplicate the damage of Zata's Whisper, and then the blast procs within this Kuva Sobek will also be duplicated. Now, as these damages proc, they will also then duplicate themselves. And what will happen is you will enjoy a cascading effect of a multitude of damages until the enemies are killed. You will nuke the entire screen with this gun over and over and over, and you will never get tired of it. It is amazing. Now, that is not to say that you are centered on just using the Kuva Sobek. You can use a multitude of things. Now, as far as the Archon Shards go, we are going to be using 2 Violet Archon Shards for melee damage, Talforge preferably, and then we were going to be using 3 for electricity damage. Now, the beautiful thing about this is the 3 electricity damage shards, they are also going to get a 15% damage increase for every Violet shard that you use. This is going to drastically increase the elemental damage output from Tornado. You are going to synergize electricity damage with the corrosive damage with Zata's Whisper and create, again, a cascading effect of damage that is ever increasing. The higher the level, the stronger it will hit. Now, even though we are speaking of the Kuva Sobek right now, you can use different weapons. Now, we are going to center this build as a melee frame, which you're asking yourself right now, Zephyr, a melee frame? Well, yes, actually, one of the most perfect melee frames that you could ever have. Now, to allow us to synergize properly, we are going to use a melee influence build on our melee weapon. This is going to allow us, one, to proc more electricity, but also to use the blast proc that we are previously using with the Kuva Sobek in conjunction, once again, with Funnel Clouds and Zata's Whisper. Now, what is going to happen is when you cast Zata's Whisper, you will get that void duplication. At the same time, when you cast Funnel Clouds on top of that, you are going to get the blast duplication from that as well. This is going to, again, cascade over and over and over. And on top of that, you are going to be getting the increase in damage from Seismic Wave and the Nira mods, as well as a 200% critical damage multiplier from Tornado and Funnel Clouds. So you are going to 100% absolutely demolish every single thing that comes your way. The best part about this is Zephyr is invulnerable with her number 3 ability. Now, make sure with whatever melee weapon you use that you are implementing Galvanized Reflex, Steel, and Elementalist. The reason for this is Galvanized Reflex, once you make a few kills, it is going to guarantee that you have a 6x combo multiplier at all times. This is to be used in conjunction with the Aura mod, Ready Steel, which gives you initial combo also. And Galvanized Steel is going to give you that nice 110% crit chance. Hopefully you have a ribbon mod that gives you a little crit chance as well, but it's also going to increase your crit damage by 120% once you stack those kills. From there, dependent on whether you're slamming or doing heavy attacks, slot in Seismic Wave or Killing Blow, your choice. The Galvanized mods are going to give you extra damage, and Galvanized Reflex is going to allow you to constantly keep Incarnon up. And it's going to give you that extra damage multiplier. Now, you can choose to use something like the Rauda, or something that will build up your combo multiplier or keep your combo multiplier like Naramon or one of the Dexterity Arcanes. That is totally fine if you want to do that, but you do not need to do that. 6x is completely, honestly, 1x is completely fine. Now, based on what weapon you use, you're going to make sure that you are getting a weapon that has good slam radius, but you can heavy attack just as well as you do that. Change out the mods necessary, flip out, Seismic Wave for Killing Blow, and, just accommodate yourself necessary for that. But a nice damage mod, the Galvanized mods, Blast Proc, an Electricity mod, Melee Influence Arcane, and you're good. Now, as far as a primer goes, there are, again, a myriad of choices that you can make. You really actually don't need a primer for this, and you'll see in the beginning of this video, I actually did not use a primer for any of the kills that I did. My great friend and fellow content creator, Metal Gear, who is also named R2Sense Media on YouTube, was kind enough to come into the match with me and do a little bit of armor stripping with his amazing Frost build, which also damage caps all the time, so be sure to check out the video that he's going to be posting for that soon enough. But we just did some simple armor stripping, and that was enough to one-shot all the enemies everywhere. Now, as far as the companion weapon, we're going with the Verglas Prime because why? We want to do the most amount of damage as possible, and the Verglas is absolutely able to keep up with doing damage to high-level enemies like that. Now, you can choose to run a high damage build, or you can get a ribbon and you can run a high crit build that allows you to use Tenacious Bond and Reinforce Bond with the shield redirection on the Nautilus itself. This is completely doable. There are a lot of easy trash ribbons that you can find. All you actually really need to do is just roll a crit chance. Now, Tenacious Bond is going to allow you that final 1.2 crit multiplier, and Reinforced Bond is going to give you that 60% fire rate. Now, using both of these in tandem allows you to switch between using the melee and then also flipping back to potentially the Kuva Sobek or the Trumno or whatever weapon that you want to use to make him a gun and sword frame. And from there, Just mod up Momentous Bond, Manifold Bond, and Contagious Bond. Momentous Bond is going to pull damage types from Eximus units and allow your companion to use them. Manifold Bond is going to reduce ability cooldown when an enemy is killed with 3 or more status effects, and Contagious Bond is going to spread those status effects to all the other enemies. Now we're going to be using Viral predominantly, but we will be using Fired Up to give us a Heat Inherit build as well. So the Verglas Prime will be doing Viral and Heat. Now you can mod for other things. As you see on here, this ribbon that I have is a high damage multi-shot ribbon with a high fire rate. Now it obviously brings my crit chance down to 14%, but it works. Do what works best for you. It's all subjective. Now let's go into the Simulacrum and let's do a little bit of showcasing on different weapons, what the companion can do, and what the Kuva Sobek can do. And as you see right there, utter destruction. Acid Shells, Zata's Whisper, and Funnel Clouds absolutely perfectly synergize with each other. The damage duplication is simply insane, and I don't know if there is actually a better showcase of skills and a weapon together. But let's not stop there, okay? Because it's not the only weapon that this works with, and the best showcase of this build ultimately is melee weapons, so let's use some other melee weapons and see what they do. So now we're showing the Magistar Incarnon, which is obviously one of the dopest melee weapons out there. I mean, it hits like an absolute tank. If you mod correctly and you prime, you can damage cap with this weapon left and right. You don't need to just use Calervo, you can use tons of frames to do it. Throw a few purple shards in, but if you see what we're doing right now, we got to a beautiful 7x, we have the Incarnon form out, and as long as the funnel clouds are touching the enemy, they're dying. They die. And actually, the more enemies that you have within the funnel clouds, the more damage duplication that you will get from the weapon itself. So any slam weapon will work. We can showcase this with the Tenet Exec, the Fragor Prime, anything that we're looking to destroy everything with. Now keep in mind that Zephyr's passive trait is 150% crit chance while airborne, which does work very well with slam builds because obviously you gotta jump to slam. So pick the right weapons, mod accordingly. If you want to get it to red crit, you can, and you can enjoy that ×2 multiplier, but with Zata's Whisper and Funnel Clouds augmenting that elemental damage with that 200% crit multiplier on top of the tornado, you don't need to do it. You can do tons of damage with any weapon. It is up to your imagination. So with that said, I hope you guys had a fantastic time watching this video. I had a great time making it. Here's to the next steps in your Warframe journey, and remember, we're here to damage cap the Origin system. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of cinematic lore in the beginning. This is Chronicles of the Origin system, and this is the Demon Prince signing out.